5 games over 5 days. This is going to be one long-ass afternoon. Ducktales, released in 1989 for the Nintendo Entertainment System from Capcom. So you know there's going to be some semblance of quality in this licensed title of sorts, since this is based on a beloved children's cartoon from the, I guess it would be the late 1980s. Now I would imagine most of you watching this are probably already familiar with this game in some form or fashion, either having played it or having heard other people talk about it incessantly over the past 3 decades. It's one of those highly regarded classic titles that have shaped childhoods and other such words that don't really matter. I got the cart for cheap a couple decades back, played it a few times here and there, but never really got back to it fully because something else would usually come up. Hence the long turnaround. Now for the sake of disclosure, we'll be playing this off the Disney Afternoon Collection, a 2017 compilation released on Steam and other platforms at the time that assembled the 5 games we're sampling this week. And also Darkwing Duck, which we've already sampled last year, and yes, that game still holds up fine. Eventually, Atari took over the publishing duties and released the collection onto Switch earlier this year, which also includes 2 bonus games that originally graced Super Nintendo, Goof Troops and Bonkers, neither of which were added to the Steam release, but if you have an Endstream account, you can play those games off that, so I don't know, maybe, we'll see. Anyway, DuckTales has you playing as Scrooge McDuck, who sets out on an adventure to get richer than he already is by looting loot across 5 stages of wonderfulness, and boy do I hope you enjoy the sights and sounds of Transylvania because... Anyway. The game begins by picking a difficulty from the title screen, either easy, normal, or hard. There's your replay value right there. Then we begin the game proper with a stage select screen. Look, it's Capcom, they don't care about Mega Man no more, and let's be fair, after the next one comes out, they'll stop pretending to care for the next 10 years or so. I'm hopeful this ages poorly, but whatever, I digress. Anyway, Scrooge has his cane as his only tool of convenience, which can be used to clear away boxes and rocks and other things with a nimble golf swing, as well as used as a pogo stick to propel him to higher ground, as well as bopping enemies on their heads and off the screen. The pogo is going to be your main means of travel, as bopping on enemies or chests can propel you to higher ground, which can be useful for uncovering hidden loot, or safely travel over spike traps without harm. It's probably your most useful tool, even if the collision detection tends to be a bit wonky at times. Some folks to watch out for: nephews Louie, Dewey, and Huey notably will pop up for advice and also fall to their deaths in the mineshaft. Sometimes you'll need to help other characters out of their predicament, which will usually result in a useful tool or other bonus being given to you. And at certain points in each stage, Launchpad will be hanging around to give you a one-time ride back to the mansion should you want to go elsewhere or stash away your acquired wealth. After all, the more monies you accumulate, the better your financial standing. DuckTales is generally on the easier side in terms of difficulty. It's kids' fare after all, so of course it has to be on the easy side. It's not like kids had to endure hardships or anything like that. You only have 5 stages to play through, and it's not much, but there's quite a bit of exploration to be done in these somewhat sizable levels, both in terms of hidden trinkets that will pop up as you pass over certain spots, or hidden routes that lead to extra loot, or even hidden treasures to further your wealth. Ultimately, you're on a time limit in these stages, which kinda sucks, and therefore you have to uncover the boss of each stage, defeat them with your almighty pogo cane, and acquire one of the 5 world treasures. Monies accumulated in a stage when cleared gets added to your bank, and this continues until all 5 treasures are acquired and the final chapter begins. If there's any quibbles to be had with DuckTales, is that sometimes the pogo doesn't work as intended. You jump and you hold down on the D-pad for the pogo, and that lasts as long as down is held down, or until you're buried in snow, which is a nice touch. But sometimes I'll be pogoing my way through a stage and then all of a sudden just stop. You also have to make sure you be right on top of your intended target to knock them out, or else your feathers will be plucked and that would hurt. Kinda problematic during boss battles especially. Last but not least, and sorry for spoiling the movie for everyone, but how many times do I need to revisit this gosh darn castle for plot related matters? I heard the remake fixed this years later. I think I still have it on Steam somewhere. I ought to give that a try one of these days. Maybe next year. So a common thread with these Disney games on NES from Capcom is that the graphics are usually top-notch stuff in terms of replicating these cartoons into a side-scroller format. Yeah, there's a couple that don't quite hit the mark, but Ducktales got the ball rolling with its slick sprite work that does a fair job of recreating all these characters to pixel form, and some of the original elements fit in nicely as well. The stages look solid for the most part, quite a bit of flicker here and there, mostly with the status icons on top, but otherwise it runs fine with virtually no slowdown. At least none I've noticed straight away. Oh look, an energy tank. You know, like that one game there. And here is where we get to the controversial portion of the video and wreck some very old people's childhoods. I didn't care for the music. Shocking, I'm sure. Yeah, you've got a pretty solid rendition of the DuckTales theme. That stage select loop is somewhat relaxing for about a couple minutes before it gets grating. And there's a nice victory jingle, but the rest of it never really landed with me. Bits and pieces with somewhat high pitches, some tunes that sound better suited for some other cartoon character's birthday blowout, and even the much beloved Moon theme, the thing that people swear by as the greatest piece of chiptune music in the history of the universe, is just okayish to me. On the flip side, the castle theme is terrible and needs to die. As for sound effects, they're fine. Decent pogo sound, adequate KO sounds, not much else to say there. I pretty much lost you, didn't I, when I told you the music wasn't all that great. Alrighty then, that means nobody's listening at the moment, so might as well be honest about it. This game fucking sucks. Overall, DuckTales is, to the surprise of no one, a fine piece of licensed game fare with fun gameplay mechanics and loads of exploring to be done within its limited 5 stages. It has a couple hiccups that you need to adapt to, but it's nothing too severe, mostly mild annoyances, and some would argue adds to the charm and challenge of the game. One of the best ever? I don't know if I'd go that far, but DuckTales is still a damn fine game, and a good note to start this week off on. Tomorrow we'll see if the game that inspired Squirrel King can keep that ball rolling. Though I don't think we have much to worry about on that front. Goodbye.